I imagine that Prince Harry, who is such a lovely man, at the moment he's in a terrible state, but he's charismatic and helpful, and he makes a tremendous impression. I think this is very important. It's not just what we think of the royal family. It's what some of the royal family can do to people who are unwell. Small children, terminally ill, respond to him. They make a huge difference to them. Soldiers who've been fighting and have got post-traumatic syndrome respond to him. One of them said to me when I was with him on one engagement, you know, he's changed my life in 2 minutes. I can't believe it. I'd given up, and he's given me the feeling that I must go on. You know, this is not nothing, actually.
There does seem to be a lot of sympathy among young people with Harry and Meghan, and a lot of sympathy among the older generations with the Queen and the firm.
Yes, I've been doing lots of talking in all different countries, actually. Well, the TV for all different countries. And there is this division, and especially among young black women who see Meghan as a huge role model and also believe that if she wants to do something, she should do it. If she feels depressed, she should speak it out. Doesn't matter if the television listens or that she's talking in the poorest country in the world. That this is what people are like now. They don't want to hold back. They want to speak out and be clear.
Very much the opposite of the Queen's view.
Yes. No interest whatsoever in a stiff upper lip. And the older people feel they see in a more broad way, perhaps, and they see how the Queen has had a terrible year, been very worried about Prince Philip, her husband, who's 98 and not been at all well. She's had tremendous pain from Prince Andrew, who she's adored because he was friendly with a paedophile. And so she's had a very, very difficult year. And perhaps it wasn't the right time to do this, but they feel, yes, it was. If you feel like that, you should do it.
Basically, I'm sick and tired of, everybody else, with this Meghan and Markle issue what they've got, blaming the media for all their problems. Instead of taking responsibility for their own actions and saying, we're not happy with it. Right. They blame the media or they play the race card.
Yeah, and isn't it funny that the threat that they're now offering is that they're going to give an no-holds-barred interview to a media organisation in America, thereby invading their own privacy?
Exactly. You can't have it both ways. We want media to promote yourselves and to create money and to be a celebrity. But at the end of the day, the media is there to hold you to account.
Exactly.
Because you spend the public's money.
Yeah.
So if you spend the public's money, the media's job is to hold you to account.
Right.
And you can't be hypocrite and say, oh, no, we want you to show the good things about us, but not the bad things about us.
Well, it's a sort of staggering arrogance as well to say, we're only going to talk to the journalists that we like. So we're not going to talk to the people we don't know. We're just going to invite people in that we like. I mean, it's the sort of thing that a dictator would do.
Of course it is. And the day you're responsible to us, you owe us an explanation because we pay for you. We pay for your luxuries. We are your bosses.
Yeah.
As we speak, my friend, this crisis at Sandringham, the Queen is there with Prince Charles, with Prince William, and with Prince Harry as well. And I think it's all underway because she was waiting for a transatlantic phone call from Meghan Markle, wasn't she?
Meghan's on the speakerphone, and when she gets up and ready to go, they'll start.
What's the time difference?
I think it's 8 hours. Yeah, I think 8 hours, West Coast. Yeah.
The reason we're talking is that yesterday in The Sun, there was an article from you headlined, Meghan Markle has made Prince Harry miserable and made his relationship with the media toxic. That's your analysis, and you're a man who's got a pretty good relationship with the royals. I strike the fact that you're a bit offended, shocked that everybody is waiting for a phone call from Meghan Markle before the action begins.
Well, I just think it's. I think she should have been here. I mean, I think to when you want to meet with the Queen, I think you're entitled to get on a plane and come and be with the Queen. I don't think it's a bit not insulting, but I don't think it's right. And of course, Harry's there. Harry is undecided. He's got his wife wants to go to Canada, and his family want him to stay, and then he's in conflict. And I just find that I feel a bit sorry for him actually. I mean, and I hope he decides to stay in this country because, working with Harry over these years, it's been a joy, absolute joy. And he's been fun to work with. He's been fun to chat to, and some wonderful pictures. And that's all going to come to an end now. And I feel not only are we losing a great prince, but the country is losing a great ambassador.
What did we get with the Duchess of Sussex that no one else had bargained for?
Well, I think. What we got in the first 18 months, or the first year, I was there, I witnessed it, I went all over the place, Dublin, everywhere, Edinburgh, Morocco, and she was charming the people. She was great. She was doing selfies, autographs. She was terrific. And then...
But they were terrific. People were terrific.
The people, especially...
Because this is the bit that I don't get. They were so popular, they're riding this crest of a wave.
Absolutely.
Where does this come from that she's not feeling the love? She said at the weekend, or there was a statement saying that the royal couple felt the love of the people of Canada. Do they not feel the love of the people of the United Kingdom?
I think they did indeed, and not only in the United Kingdom, but in Scotland, in Ireland. As I say, everywhere we went, they were fated. Crowds flocked to see them. And, she was brilliant with them. And I went on record saying, I think this girl is a great ambassador for our country. I thought she was just superb. And then, of course, we came to the baby, and then she not wanted to name the godparents. She didn't want to issue any pictures on the day she came out of hospital. We were led to believe that she was going to have a home birth, and it was always going to be in a hospital. We were told at 2:00 in the afternoon that she'd gone into labour and the baby had born at 5 a.m. It was as though we were being played. The media was being played. We'll tell you what we want to tell you when we want to tell you, instead of which the royals have always done. When the baby's been born, they've told us straight away. They've tried as quickly as possible to give us the name. They certainly did with Harry anyway, because I was there when they announced it. And of course, the bride, the mother and father come out holding the baby. Now that's sometimes not easy for a woman who's just given birth. But Catherine did it, Diana did it, Princess Anne did it, and it's it's a lovely set of pictures and a great feel-good factor in the country. Instead of that, we waited 3 days, 4 days, and we got a picture of him talking in front of the stables, and then we got set up pictures in the palace. And it was then I started to think, well, this is not right. And I started to think, well, we're being played now. They're giving it to us.
A lot of people will say, what makes you think this is Meghan? What do you think Meghan is behind this? Harry must have a role in all of this as well. You say that you believe he's a different person when she's not around.
Well, I know that's true. He just, when I did a job with him, the last job I did with him was in Luton last September. It was at a school up in Luton, and he was fantastic with the kids. It was like 2 years earlier when with children he becomes a child, and he was just high-fiving them, and he was, they were hugging him. Literally pictures of these kids hugging him, and he was loving it. And I was sort of, this is unbelievable. This is like it used to be. We would go to when I photographed him on the Copacabana beach playing with street kids at rugby, and lifting them up, fighting with them, cheating, having great, absolutely brilliant pictures. And he said, I do every time I try and get you lads good pictures. That's what he said. And at the end of a tour, we'd all go to the pub and he would buy the drinks.
That's amazing.
And now, at the end of the last tour in South Africa, they announced they were going to sue the papers. So, what's happened? What's changed him? What's made him like that?
There's an assumption, though, that it's because it's Meghan's fault, that Meghan is driving this, and Meghan is the one who's in Canada with the baby. But is there a chance that she's the victim in this? Maybe she struggled with the whole, I live in a goldfish bowl, I didn't realise what it was going to be like, I wasn't really prepared to have my baby on display. And he's taken control and go, right, I'm not having this.
What I would say...
I'm just asking, I'm just putting it out there.
While I take into account what you're saying there, why then I would ask you, does she still plan... She says she can't be in the goldfish bowl here, but she's going to be in the goldfish bowl in the USA. They're talking about continuing to work for charity, continuing to be in the limelight. the Arthur Edwards of this world. There must be an American version of you, Arthur. The paparazzi, certainly around LA, are much more vicious than you'll get here. And
true,
yet she's not withdrawing from public life. She's not hiding under stone and saying, I'm never going to appear in public again. And that is the bit I find hard to reconcile. There is a difference. One, she is maintained for in the UK, and the other, she'll be incredibly handsomely paid for in the USA.
Well, that's true, of course, and already she's done a deal with Disney to voice over a Disney show. So, but that's apparently for charity. Well, that's fair enough. But, I mean, look, there were 6 weeks in Canada. They probably saw their agent. They probably set up some deals. Who knows? They've come back determined that this is what's going to happen. And honestly, I feel for Harry, really, because he's up there facing the music on his own. And
you take this a bit personally, don't you?
I do, because I love him. He's a lovely bloke. He's been a really, really super guy. I can tell you, Eamon, when I've been up in the mountains in Lesotho, and he with a night school that he opened for the kids up there, passionate about helping these young kids, these kids that lost their parents through HIV. And I've seen him do that. I've seen him with a charity called Well Child, where very, very sick children, and he's hugged them, and he's made them laugh. And he's got this amazing compassion. I also saw him outside Kensington Palace looking at the flowers that were laid for his mother, and his face creased up with tears. I've seen the best and the worst of it for him, and I know that he's conflicted now. I'd say he's conflicted. He doesn't really know what to do for the best.
He couldn't protect his mother. He wants to protect his wife, maybe.
That's true. Could be that. It could be something there. But, and look, family's everything, Eamon. First for me. And if this means keeping the family together, I think he should go and be with her and Archie. And unfortunately, Archie will end up with an American accent, but that's not too bad. And
that's not the end of the world.
But if that's for the sake of the family, he should do that, because end of the day, being a member of the royal family is, after all, just another job, although a very special job. But if he's got to go, let him go. But I wished he'd stay. I wished he would find a way to work with the royal family and carry on the work that he's done, because he has raised zillions for charity, and mainly for young people.
Do you think there'll be a level of compromise in these talks today, that maybe they do a couple of engagements every year or something like that, or will they be calling the shots and they'll put it across to the Queen and her advisors and they will say yes or no?
You can't be in or out, Jackie. You're either in the royal family or you're out. You can't do, as I said, you can't do Trooping of the Colour and not do Remembrance Sunday. It is about being a member of the royal family, or being a member of the royal family living abroad, no longer taking part. That won't change. It will still be Prince of Wales' son and the Queen's grandson, and that will never change. And in fact, the Prince of Wales, that is, he's probably trying to sort this at the very moment, trying to sort a son he dearly loves, and trying to do the right thing by everybody. And but I think today it'll be finalised. I think today they will sort it, and one way or another we'll know pretty soon what's going to happen.
What has changed is that 5, 6, 7 years ago, someone who was a dealer or a hostess who carried the prize money in an attaché case for the American version of Deal or No Deal. You say the irony of all of this is?
Well, now she's on the phone, on the speakerphone from Canada, doing a deal or no deal with the Queen, and I just find that in many ways disrespectful. I do. I feel she should have been over there. She should have got on a plane. It didn't take that long, and come for the meeting with the Queen and sort it out face to face. I think you do better face to face than you do on phones, and where she probably can't make her point forcefully enough over the phone. And I feel that, the Queen is a very compassionate person. She's a very kind, loving person. She would want to do the best for them all. At the same time, protect the institution. That is so vital, to protect the institution. And to stop this now from getting from descending even further into chaos.
Why do you think they are in Canada? Why was the baby left in Canada? this is quite a serious thing. This is the rest of your life you're trying to negotiate, sort out with the Queen and the rest of the royal family. Why are either of them there?
Well,
why aren't they both back?
The baby's in Canada because she intended to go straight back after visiting the Canadian High Commission and of course, going down to Grenfell Tower. But there's a lot, Eamonn, that's not right. You know, wanting to withdraw from the Royal Rota, so they just pick the magazines or the papers that they want to deal with, and not the general media. That's another thing that's.
But that's the way it's done in Hollywood, isn't it? If you're Hollywood royalty, if you're Hollywood actor, actress. You have your people, and they pick what happens. Yeah,
well, you know, they
control, isn't it?
Yeah, it's control, and I think that in that's the case. I think certainly the editors that don't get picked just won't run the stuff.
Yeah,
and you know, pretty soon after a while, they just become. If you know, the royals like to be photographed. That's why they buy these great clothes. That's why they look good. They want to see their pictures in the paper and the magazines. And, you know, nobody likes to be ignored. But I suspect if they go down that route, they'll be pretty much ignored. Maybe they want that. Maybe Harry wants that. But I'm sure Meghan doesn't.
This is quite an extraordinary state of affairs, isn't it? I mean, if we thought it was bad on Friday, it got worse over the weekend. And today, the summit at Sandringham, I can't imagine what that's going to be like.
Well, it's extraordinary. You've got summits at Sandringham and all this sort of thing. That's not normally how the royal family have to behave. But I think that Meghan and Harry have clearly either reached a tipping point, or the royal, and it's left the royal family in this precarious position. And make no mistake, it's a very damaging position. You know, you've got things like the Queen's being defied, as we revealed in the Standard last week, and Harry going public, in spite of her express wishes, threats of TV interviews and the like. I think the royal family, Prince of Wales, have to act very decisively, and probably in a way that won't suit Meghan and Harry, because you can't be dictated to by Harry. He's not the direct heir to the throne. The monarchy exists really around the monarch only, and the rest are there to support the monarch. And clearly Harry and Meghan are not supporting the monarch. They're giving her one hell of a headache.
Well, exactly right. And I mean, your stuff last week was fascinating, Robert, as an insight into how this has kind of got to this point. But also, reading Tom Bradby's piece in the Sunday Times yesterday, who's a well-known friend of theirs, the guy that did that famous interview in Africa, at which she said that she wasn't really okay and she was struggling to come to terms with motherhood and all of that. You know, I mean, he was clearly writing something they wanted him to write, which I find quite insidious, actually.
Well, I mean, the reality is, I mean, they're going to get their point of view out there, and who can blame them for that? But I don't think the general public are particularly sympathetic with. If they want to go their own way, then, you know, give up your title, give up your benefits, give up the money that comes with it. And it's a lot of money. So
well, it's a lot of money and it's a lot of privilege. And I mean, yeah, but the idea as well, Robert, ordinary people who are struggling to get into work today on the trains, packed in like sardines, sitting in traffic jams, driving around in taxis, driving around in transit vans, doing their jobs, are looking at this pair and saying, are you having a laugh? Are you seriously telling me that you actually are struggling to survive in the world?
Well, it's self-indulgent, isn't it? The problem we've got here is that they don't seem to be in the real world at the moment. The fact is that Harry, on that last trip to Africa, which was lost. He seemed talking about his mother, and we all agree that was a tragic loss. But to start blaming the media, which is a completely different beast to what it was in 1990, I know I was around at the time. And
right.
It's simply nonsense, and they've really had a pretty fair crack of the whip. I think that even the Prince of Wales, the Queen, and Prince William will say that, and they will say that actually that they've been embraced. Meghan has certainly been embraced. The problem she's got is that they are, they're really not. It's not a constitutional crisis as it was in 1936, because really they're so far down the totem pole. The Queen is at the top, then there's Charles, then there's William, then there's George and George's brother and sister, then there's Harry, and there's. You've got to go a long way before there's any idea that they're going to be the king or queen, which they're not going to be. So it's not causing a constitutional crisis. It's just causing a huge embarrassment to the Queen and the Prince of Wales. And for people that are turning around and saying they want to support the Queen and the Prince of Wales and the monarchy as an institution, well, they're not doing it. I mean, the simple way is if you can't hack it and you don't want to continue as a member of the royal family, give up all the benefits.
Yeah.
Pay for it yourself. They've got something like £40 million between them and pay for it yourself.
Well, this is the point. Trouble is, for people like Meghan Markle, 40 million quid's never going to be enough because she wants to live the lifestyle of a multi-billionaire. She wants to be able to fly on private jets everywhere she goes. I mean, I don't know how she got backwards and forwards, leaving Archie behind, or how she got the dogs out to Vancouver sort of back end of last year. But I'm pretty sure there would have been some private jets involved. And, you know, once you're in that kind of area, once you're in with those kind of wealthy people, you know, suddenly 40 million doesn't sound like enough money. But how arrogant of her to join an institution, which she willingly did, and to then complain that it's sexist, that it's racist, that they've been bullying her, and that they need to change.
And it really isn't. And if they're going to go on air and say those sort of things, they're going to be almost a laughing stock, I would think. But the reality here is, one must remember, it's a very delicate point for the monarchy as an institution, because the monarchy exists purely on the basis of the people's will. And the fact is, if you do not have the backing of the people, then the monarchy as an institution will go. And they're blaming the media, which is the messenger of the people, for everything that's gone wrong in their lives. Well, I mean, that's a ridiculous thing to do in the first place, because they're simply a messenger, and actually the stories have not been that overzealous or over the top. I think they've been fairly straightforward. You know, they were taking private jets and criticised for lecturing people on climate change. I mean, that's pretty standard, I would have thought. But the reality is it is a bit of a tipping point for the monarchy, because it's embarrassing that Britain at this time when Brexit is on the cusp. We're about to embark. We need the royal family to be out there batting for Britain, which Prince Charles and Prince William and the Queen do every single day of their lives. And this really is quite a shocking indictment of the way things are going. I mean, they cannot possibly cash in on brand monarchy or brand royal, because that is outrageous to do that. And that's something that the Queen cannot really allow, because I don't think the public will stomach it.
No.
Equally, millions of pounds have been spent on this couple, million.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely right. And it occurred to me this morning, Robert, as I was coming into work, that she's behaving rather like one of those spoiled Premier League footballers who's not happy at the club and is kind of agitating to leave and go somewhere else. The difference, though, of course, is that she has no business cashing in on the Sussex Royals, as she wants to call themselves, or anything to do with the royal family, because if she is not willing to put the work in, as everybody else does, then why the hell should she benefit from it?
Well, she can't. I mean, Mike, there's on that website that they produced, there are a number of huge errors that they've just printed as fact. You know, the security issue is going to be resolved. The 5% money that is public that they get it's a nonsense.
Yeah.
It's just 5%. And they've got things completely wrong. And ultimately, I think that the Queen has to look at these two situations with two different hats. Obviously, as a grandmother, she's sympathetic to what's going on with her grandson's life. She knows he can be a volatile and fragile character. But most of all, at this moment in time, she has to wear the crown, and the crown has to be quite ruthless when dealing with people that they don't want to be part of it, as with the previous king, Edward VIII. Then once you're out, you're out.
Exactly. And what about that video where he's talking to the head of Disney about how, you know, do you know she does voiceovers? I mean, that is almost cringe-worthingly kind of disgraceful, really.
Well, I've never been a supporter of what the Republic movement said in this country. I think they're out of step, and I think the royal family have done a good job over the years. But that walks straight into what the Republic movement say. You know, they're utilising their position for financial gain and putting someone like Bob Iger in a position where both you sort of look at it and say, okay, money can be made by my company, but you're almost using your position there to actually force a deal. And that, is a disgrace.
But also, it's embarrassing. I mean, I actually had an exchange with somebody yesterday on Twitter who said it's just what any husband would do for his wife. Well, actually, no, it's not. I would not walk into a room full of people in black tie, go up to the richest guy there running the biggest company and say, by the way, why don't you give my wife a job? I don't think I would do that, and I don't think anybody that I know would do that.
It's not only that. When you're dealing with diplomacy, which is a very delicate issue, the royals are used for soft power diplomacy, whereby they're not travelling salesmen, but they're there to pitch and softly persuade people to come over to the British way. They're not there with a bag full of trade deals. That's the follow-up stuff that's done by the ministers. But they're there to support Great Britain PLC, and that's basically one of the key roles that they have. Now, if you're going to start swapping Great Britain PLC, which is benefiting the whole greater public, which they represent, and start swapping that for Sussex Royal ink and starting building up your own financial position. That's a very dangerous position to put yourself in and to put the royal family in, because ultimately the royal family answer to the public. And if the public can see that they are not doing the job that they're supposed to be doing and they're actually cashing in on their status, then they're justified in actually criticising them as being completely out of step with what is going on in a modern society, and that they could then be replaced by an elected system of government, of a head of state, and that is something that would be a disgrace. Given their position is quite low ranking, and the Queen has done nothing wrong apart from serve her country ever since she was a little girl and told that she, through no fault of her own, would be inheriting the crown, because at that time, another very selfish member of the family, her uncle, decided he would not do his duty.
Exactly right. And I was watching a piece over the weekend in which it said that Prince Charles himself does something like between 400 and 500 royal events every single year, that Prince Philip, who's often castigated as the man that never did very much, has done something like 23,000 in his life. And this is a time when, because Prince Andrew is not really in the picture as far as being able to show up at things anymore, they actually did quite need Harry and Meghan to do an awful lot of the engagements.
Well, they do. And the bottom line is, the Queen is in her mid-90s and still carries out 300 engagements a year. The Prince of Wales effectively is like a quasi-king, having to travel around the world on behalf of the Queen, effectively as head of state, because she doesn't do long-haul travel, understandably, anymore. And, of course, he would need the backup of Prince William and Kate and his other son, and his wife Meghan. The fact is, though, by them bailing out, they're putting an awful lot of pressure on William and his family, which is unfair. And there aren't enough people, a lot of other organisations will suffer because they won't have somebody as a royal, as their patron or their leaders, or their figurehead, and that actually does bring in a lot of money and a lot of influence. But ultimately, it's the way it's been done that's been pretty appalling. I understand if people are suffering and need to, they need a break, or they need to sort of.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't understand.
I do
understand. What is it that has been so terrible? Everybody I've asked this question to, we don't know, because there isn't anything.
Well, we don't know that, Mike. I mean, we don't know if people are having, mental breakdowns. We don't know if they're having, postnatal depression. We actually don't know. But what we do know is that they did both sign up to be full members of the royal family. They have been given as much support as possible by the Queen and the Prince of Wales, and to actually treat the Queen in the way they did by defying, as we revealed in the Evening Standard, by defying her express wish, was pretty appalling, and they should be hanging their heads in shame over that.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about this nonsense about Prince William's bullied us out of the royal family? Because that's the impression that's being given. Those are the kinds of tips and inside information that Tom Bradby was writing about.
I know Prince William, and he's not a bully. He's actually a very kind-hearted, deep-thinking guy, and I think actually. And he was on the trip with him to Pakistan when he did visit there with the Duchess of Cambridge, and they did an excellent job for Great Britain PLC and really did make a difference. And I think that to start making accusations through the back door of bullying is rather ironic, given what they've done is effectively hold a gun to the Queen's head and said we're going to do what we want to do as we do, or not at all. I mean, I wrote in my book that there was that expression, what Meghan wants, Meghan gets.
Yeah.
Never a truer word seems to be spoken.
No, quite. And what she's done is she's broken away Prince Harry from all of his old mates who weren't invited to the wedding. She's broken him away from his brother. She's now broken him away from his grandmother. There's possibly no way back for him if it all goes wrong over on Vancouver Island, wherever they decide to go.
Don't expect them to be particularly... they're trying to accommodate Harry and solve this as quickly as possible. But the worst thing the Queen would want was people like me and you on the radio and others discussing this endlessly and on front page endlessly. The other thing you've got to remember here is I was talking to a friend of mine. If this had been the other way around, and if she would be the new a fella who comes in and this would be the princess, there would be all hell to play about bullying because the fact is she has cut him off seemingly from a lot of his friends and his family. She seems to have cut herself off from her own family too. But if this had been the other way round and it was a guy that was doing this, a lot of people would say that he was a control freak and a bully.
Let's talk to Lorraine, who's in Chelmsford. Hello, Lorraine.
Hello, Mike. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Very good morning to you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much indeed.
Now, what do you think of this shambolic Meghan Markle scenario?
Well, Meghan Markle, to my mind, is a professional networker.
Yeah.
I think it's how she was able to meet Harry and through Harry make a relationship with the Obamas.
Yeah.
She holds the Obamas in much admiration. She likes the way that through them being the President and the First Lady of America, they've come out of that, but been able to use that role to make a load of money.
Yeah.
Standing on a virtuous stage of doing loads for charity. But in an actual fact, they're making loads and loads of cash. I think the Obama thing is charity for girls around the world.
Right.
By all accounts, it appears that Meghan Markle secretly went to see Michelle Obama give a talk at a school in this country a couple of years ago. So this has been in the planning.
Oh, yeah.
This isn't a week or a month thing. This has been a year thing in Meghan Markle's mind. Now, what makes me laugh is, do we see the Obama stand in Iran or in Nigeria helping girls get education? No. She's standing in the West.
Yeah.
So they don't put themselves in any harm's way, but they give this virtuous opinion of themselves, how to make a load of money, looking virtuous.
But the world is full of these people, isn't it, Lorraine? I mean, I was watching something over the weekend where Serena Williams won a tennis tournament and was being praised to the high heavens because she gave the money that she won as a prize for coming first to the Australian Fire Fund, you know. And I mean, this is a woman who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It's literally like me giving you a tenner.
She should not even be allowed, whilst she is under that title, to express her personal views about another president of another country or you know, a political member like that.
Well, that's the trouble. I mean, the problems for these two, as far as the media were concerned, was when they started going around lecturing everybody about climate change and telling everybody about, you know, mental health and starting to get involved in sort of causes rather than just doing charitable works, which is what William and Kate do very happily and very well and very efficiently without sort of pointing to themselves and going, it's all about me.
It is all about me. And it's like I said, it's about them creating the brand. And now they're using this excuse, some people, you know, he had it really bad with the death of his mother. Well, there's people equally have had it as bad, if not worse, you know, and they've not had a financial stability that he had with other people around him and a financial stability. And those people still have to pick up and get on with their lives. It just doesn't wash with me, that excuse.
No, I think you're absolutely right, Rudy. Very well said. Thank you very much indeed. How about this from Deborah? This is Mike Graham's bang on as usual at Talk Radio now. Meghan Markle is a third-rate actress trying to destroy our precious royal family from within. Attention-seeking narcissist Meghan urgently needs pulling down a peg or two. And that's from Bother. And how about this from on the YouTube feed? Scott says this, as far as the knives are concerned. You need to sort out the folks that are stabbing people, not the knife. And until mothers start telling their kids that they have to work for stuff, nothing will change. And the music hasn't helped either.